So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's open session with Cambiatus. We are doing these events, virtual events, hopefully once a month at least, to give all members of Cambiatus opportunity to learn about each other, to learn about the work that communities do, to learn about the work that the team do behind the scenes, a little bit about the tech and the logic behind Cambiatus too, and the impact. So today we are going to be focused, hello Karim, welcome. We're going to be focused on our technology with Henrique from our marvelous dev team. And he's going to be sharing a little bit about not only how we build Cambiatus, as beautiful as it is, but also as accessible as it is now, thanks to the efforts of the team. And before starting, just let's do a quick round. We always do a check-in, which is kind of a little bit longer, but let's try to do it really quick. And in one word, how you feel today, your name. If you are coming from, I mean, we have people here from Verdes, from Angel, from Play for Change, people here that is advisor of Cambiatus or friends of Cambiatus. So please just quick, your name, where are you coming from, and one word, how you're feeling today. And I can start. My name is Carla from Cambiatus, and I'm feeling super excited about this open session. And then you nominate someone. So I'm going to nominate Henrique.
Hey, I'm Henrique, and as Carla said, I'm one of the magicians behind our beautiful and accessible web app. And I'm really excited just to talk about what I'm passionate about, so I'm always excited about that. And I'm gonna pass it to Janelle.
Hi, I'm Janelle. I'm from Verdes up here in Monteverde, Costa Rica, and I'm anxious to get to know everybody because it looks like an interesting group. And I'm going to pass to Juliana.
You, are you there?
Hello, everyone. My name is Juliana. I'm from UX team of the Cambiatus, and my word is I am feeling happy and glad today. I pass to Chrissy.
Hello everyone, I'm Chrissia. I'm from Cambiatus. I work with curation and production of content. I'm from Brazil. What else? And I'm feeling awesome today. So yeah, that's it. Pass it on to Victor.
Hey everyone, I'm Victor from Play for Change. We're really excited because we started using the platform. So it's been awesome to play around it. And I'm excited to hear, I think the world's gonna be curious because I wanna hear from Cambiatus on some of the things that we haven't seen yet. Because for now, it's been a lot of like experimentation. So it's gonna be good to learn from you guys and be able to use it even better from now on. I'll pass it to Jeff.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeff. I'm talking from Salvador, Bahia. I'm from Play for Change as well, and the word would be curious. I'm really interested in learning a lot about you guys. And I'm passing to Matthias.
Hello everybody. I'm Matthias from Play for Change. I'm from Brazil. I live in Los Angeles, California. And I'm excited to know more about Cambiatus and, to participate in the improvement of the platform and also, everything that we have to do here. I pass to Karian. Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Karin. My day job is with the Shuttleworth Foundation, and I always consider myself an honorary member of Cambiatus. And I am very excited to be with the gang again and to see where we're at. and I am going to pass it. Oh, and I'm coming to you from South Africa. And I am passing over to Nathaniel.
Thanks, Karine. Nice to see you, by the way. I'm calling in from New Zealand, advisor to Cambiatus, and I'm just looking forward to being in this one of their containers instead of like a project specific one or like an advisory specific one. This is a new mode of participation for me. So it's a Thursday morning at 8 a.m. and it's a good way to start my day.
And
On to Thomas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Thomas. I live in London. I work with the Agelgul community in Adama in Ethiopia as an economic assistant to that project. Nathaniel introduced us to Cambiatus, so it's great to be part of this wider community and looking forward to learning a lot. I pass to Luca.
Thank you, Thomas. My name is Luca. I'm from Brazil and I work in Cambiatus. And I'm feeling very excited to hear from you all. Very glad to be here. And I'll pass to Renufo.
Hello. It's me. Rodolfo, a Brazilian living in Costa Rica, and I'm co-founder of Cambiatus, and very excited to hear all the new things that our magician Henrique will show us. So, who is missing? Kako, I guess.
Kako, yes. Are you there?
I'm there. Hi, my name is Kako. I'm from Muda Outras Economias, another economist. It's a partner from Cambiatus, and I'm here to listen. I'm from Brazil. I'm living in Rio, and let's go. I don't know who.
I think you were the last one. Thank you.
I think Henrique is still missing.
There is me too. Yeah,
that's to Henrique.
There is another Henrique too.
I'm okay, Henrique.
Yeah. Well, hello everybody. I'm Henrique. I'm from Brazil. I come from Play for Change, and yeah, I'm very excited. We started using Cambiatus for our governance, and it's been very interesting. And I'm really curious to learn about it, to learn more about it, and help if we can help too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Enrique. And then into the other Enrique. Just before starting, just want to notice that we have someone from each community here for the first time. That's fantastic.
Nice, very diverse crowd today. So I want to start this off saying that this is a dev talk, so some terms might be a little cloudy. Some people might not know what they mean. So feel free to interrupt me and ask any questions anytime. So we're going to be talking about frontend. So first, we need to know what a frontend is. Basically, most apps are divided in two parts, both a frontend and a backend. Backend is what you usually hear about servers and databases and all that stuff, while frontend is basically the front part, what you see. So it's what, for example, Juliana does the designs. She gives them to me and I implement, and you can see it on the app and you can interact with it. You can click the buttons, you can do stuff with it. It's basically what gets the users from point A to point B in hopefully a nice and pleasurable experience. And for that, we use a couple major languages, HTML and Elm. So HTML is basically the scaffolding of our app. We say like, here's a button, here's a text. And, you know, we basically lay out the page and say what's there, what's not there. And Elm is what gives us the interactivity. And this basically the main language you use. HTML is just layouting and Elm is the main thing. And what is Elm? Elm is a functional programming language, which gives us many benefits, such as immutability and type safety and a strong type system. But, you know, that's probably all just words for you. You don't need to know them. You just need to know that all of that just helps us do very reliable apps. It's very easy to change huge chunks of code in Elm and feel relatively safe that it will just work in the end. The Elm community has a saying that says, if it compiles, it works. So if the code is valid, it's probably going to work as you expected. So that's really nice. That means we can just take out huge parts of code, replace it with other, maybe better, updated, and it just works most of the time, obviously. But of course, it's not 100% good. There are some downsides. Some things take longer to develop. Some things you need to type more code to work. So there's that boilerplate code, which is the main problem of Elm and what most people complain about. But I personally prefer writing a few minutes of extra code than debugging for hours on a code that's not as safe. So without that out of the way, as I mentioned, we can refactor huge parts of our code easily and feel safe about it. And we do that a lot actually recently. For example, we have changed most of how we fetch data from our backend. So we can fetch only the data we need when we need it, and then we can store it for later and all that, and it's just better. And we did it, and we replaced the old code with the new code, and it worked. So it's really nice. We also changed a lot of the architecture behind the scenes of the code itself, and we changed it and we compiled it, worked. And the big thing about today's talk is we can make components standardized. So we can say, here's how an input should look like. It should have this border, it should behave like this. When the user types this, it should do that, and all that stuff. And if there's an error, we should show it in a certain time, in a certain way. And we can do that. In fact, we did that. That's what we did. We were working for it for a few months, actually. It took a long time. But we basically replace every single form element in our app for a new standardized form element. And that comes with the benefit out of the box of being accessible. We're going to talk about that a little bit about that later. What being accessible means. So they're accessible, they're usable, they look nice, they follow our standards of design. And we changed it, we compiled, it worked. So that's really nice. Everyone all right so far? Any questions? All right.
I have one.
Sure.
I have one. You were saying that now, because of all these changes that you have been working in the past months, now you're able to, for example, fetch information in a different way, or have more standardized items or elements in the app. What are the problems or the errors or the issues that you're solving with that people will see in the app and then now they are not seeing that?
Yeah, so for example, with the data fetching one, we used to fetch every single piece of data of a community every time the user loaded the app, or maybe they entered the claims page, and we used to load every single claim every time. So if the user entered the claim page, went to the dashboard, and then went back to the claim page, we fetched every single claim pretty much twice. So now when the user logs into the app, they only download the data they need at that time. And then say if they go to the claim page, then they obviously need to download the claims, the claim information. But if they go back to the dashboard and go back to the claim page again, well, we already fetched the data. So we don't really need to fetch it again. So basically for areas with poor internet, for example, it's much, much better. It should make the app faster to load, and it shouldn't consume as much bandwidth. For form components, sorry, go ahead.
No, that Thomas sounds familiar.
Just it would make such a difference in Ethiopia. Like, we were trying to run our market days from a centralized internet provider and then suffering some bandwidth problems. But recently, the people have been using their own data, phone data, to be able to access the app and doing so successfully at the market day. So I think without knowing it, the users are experiencing some of these benefits of the app working in this much more efficient way. And I was surprised, I have to say, to hear that that was working well. So that our users in Ethiopia are preferring to access the app on their own phones, using their own data, phone data packs, rather than these centralized locations with internet provision. So I think it's very exciting what you're doing. It makes such a difference in a context where people have poor internet access, which is very common across the African subcontinent.
Nice, that's really nice to hear.
I agree with that too, because a lot of our community, they don't have good internet service, especially in underserviced community in Rio de Janeiro, Salvador, Bahia, and that's where we are focusing our efforts the most. So it's really good to hear that even with low internet connection, they could still use Cambiatus in our community, because we are releasing to them slowly. So it's great to hear that.
Nice. And yeah, it's, to be honest, it's not 100% perfect. We still have some things we can make better in that aspect. But it, you know, small steps. And since Elm is really easy to refactor, it can evolve very easily and change these parts that are core of the app very easily. So that's really nice. Any more questions for now? All right, so well, we came here to talk about accessibility, so let's talk about it. First of all, accessibility is pretty much, probably can infer it from the name, but it's basically some people using the web aren't like us. Some people are older or have disabilities and they can't use a mouse, for example, or they can't use a keyboard, or they need to use that kind of stuff like you blink and it clicks, or that Stephen Hawking thing, probably you have seen it. Or maybe some people don't have as good as an eyesight as us, so they can't see different colors on top of each other very well. Some grays with whites and just gets mixed up and they can't see it. Or people are just blind and they can't see, and they need text-to-speech to help them navigate our app. So basically the idea is providing accessibility so those users can also use our app, just like we use our app. It's probably not going to be the same experience because it's different means of communication, but it's still, they should be able to use our app in some way. Hopefully the best way, as best as possible. So we've been working on that for a good while now, and we've been revamping our user interface for a while, a couple months already as well. It's been a really awesome job by the design team. So props to Juliana, Elton, and Rafa. It's been really nice. You might have seen it actually already on the dashboard. Some time ago, it was very different. We're working on the shop now, and a lot of new pages to come. So yeah, props to the design team. And we have an issue on GitHub that talks about that. And we actually got participation of a public contributor. I think he was a friend of Luca, one of our devs who's there. But he basically did a really nice experimentation on some pages of our app, running it through text-to-speech engines on different operating systems and checking our HTML and basically doing some really, really nice tests to see if our pages are accessible. And he found out some of them really weren't, which is a bummer, but again, we use Elm, so we can just refactor and it will work. So that's really nice. And that's what we have been doing. We've been changing a lot of pages and passing them with a fine comb, checking for issues, fixing those issues, or just noting that they are there so we can fix it later when we have some time. And of course, that's really hard. There are lots of standards on the web. Some of them conflict with each other, but we try to follow them as good as possible. And that means we use semantic HTML tags which are pretty much provided by web browsers by default. And they come with some accessibility points already built in, which is really nice. But sometimes we need some custom elements, such as, well, you might not have seen it yet, but on the new broadcast feature, which is rolling out soon, we have a new reaction picker, which was built very much with accessibility in mind. And it's not a default HTML element, so we had to do some really nice work with that. And it turned out really nice. Hopefully it'll be nice for you as well. And as I said, we haven't really implemented every single thing that our public contributor talked about. In fact, if you want to see what he talked about, I just put the link on the chat. He wrote a lot of stuff down, which is really nice to read. And yeah, we're pretty much still working on it. We have done a few pages. So login, register, the join page, dashboard. And as I said before, every single form of our app, which is a huge effort, but hopefully it'll be a huge, nice effort. It has a lot of accessibility built into it, such as scrolling to errors when they happen and stuff like that. So hopefully you all will like it. Any questions for now?
I will ask the same. You already gave us a couple of examples of what is different now in the app, thanks to the accessibility refactoring, let's say. Will you give us a couple of examples of things that were not working as well before and are working better now?
So a big part of the write-up our public computer wrote was about a login page, and it was pretty much just a mess. If you were blind, you pretty much couldn't use it because we had no use. Well, that's true for the whole app. If you were blind, you pretty much couldn't use it. We weren't really doing much about that for text-to-speech engines because they need some proper treatment, some proper attributes on the HTML. So obviously it takes a little more work and a little more knowledge. And we basically weren't doing that. So that's a bummer. Some contrasts with our button in white, I think, was a little off. So some people with not so great eyesight, they probably couldn't see it as well. And basically, well, it falls down to the text-to-speech engines as well, which is usually the main concern. But our HTML wasn't structured really well. So for example, if you have well-structured HTML, a text-to-speech can take shortcuts, basically. So they can say, here's a heading, go to the shop. Here's a heading, go to the dashboard. But before, we couldn't do that. You would just read every single thing. And in the middle of that, somewhere, it would say, here's a button to go to the dashboard. Here's a button to go to the shop. And so it wasn't very navigable for blind users. Now it's hopefully a little better. And we're still working on that, as I said. Anything else? Okay, so during the farm refactoring, huge farm refactoring we did, we actually came with a problem. So we were redoing all the forms, but it was really hard to test. We basically had to change what we thought we had to change. Then we need to navigate through the app, find a form that has the form element, test it, see if it works, if it looks good. And, we basically had to test every state it could be in. So like with error, with or being disabled, or, all that kind of stuff. So it was really a pain to test everything out. And it was really, really huge. So it was a lot of stuff to do with that. It was all very manual. So we actually came across a tool called elm-book. Let me share my screen to show you. So elm-book, it's a tool. As the name implies, it's made in Elm for Elm. It's made by a fellow Brazilian, a really cool guy, and his name is really cool. He's called Jorge Boris. It even sounds fake a little bit, but he's a really cool guy. I've met him and talked to him a couple of times on Elm meetups, and we actually even proposed some code for this tool, which is open source. So we helped out with some stuff we needed and which probably the community needed. So I got to talk to him a little bit. So basically, it's a tool. If you've ever heard of Storybook from the JavaScript environment, it's pretty much the same thing. It's a visual guide to a app or anything you want. So basically, here are chapters. So overview, API, chapters, books. These are chapters. In each chapter, you can write down stuff. So you can write down rich text. You can write code. And the most cool thing, the coolest thing, is you can embed components. I don't think there are any here. Oh, here they are. So you can embed components. So this is a header. We know this is what it looks like, and you can click it, and you say, this is what happens when you click it. And that's really cool. We could just, and to solve our problem from before, from having to navigate the app and find the form element and force it into a state and then test it, see if it's okay, see if it's behaving the way it should behave. We could just put it here, look at it, and we could do that. And so we did. So we have our Elm-book. I'm gonna give you the link here. So again, these are chapters, and you can see what we talk about. And here we introduce some Cambiatus stuff and talk about what Elm-book is, essentially, and we give out some links of us. And then we can talk about forms, which is pretty much the only thing we have here for now, because it came up during the forms refactoring. So you can come here and see, hey, this is a text component, and it's interactive. I can play with it. I can write. I can do whatever I want. And this is another component. And then I can say, here's how it looks when it's disabled. So I can click on it. I can't write on it. Here's how it looks like when it has an error. It has the red border, the red indicator. So it's much, 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 much easier to test out, both for devs who are implementing them or for designers who need to make sure they look okay, they look how well they're intended to look. So basically, everything is right here, and we can test it out much easier. So for now, we have just the form components, which is what we were working on when we found out about Elm-book. And here you can see every single element, every single one of them that we use on forms, which for me is just magical. A really nice cool thing about it as well is when we change the code, it automatically is updated and all the changes happen here as well. So it's all in sync, it's all nice, and it all just works. And it's very much easier to test. The only thing that's missing for now is our translation keys. So if you see here, this looks kind of odd because we can't really translate text in Elm-book yet. I've talked to Jorge Boris, the creator, and he said he's looking into something to fix that. So hopefully in the future we can translate stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much what Elm-book is. And it allows us to document everything from our app. Carla.
Another question. Looks fantastic. Kudos and congrats for the work. And when you say form, I mean just the forms. Actually, forms are a really big thing, right? A really big thing of the app because every time a user creates an offer in the shop, they are using forms. Every time you see, for example, the creation of a new action or a new objective by the admins, you are using forms, right? Every time someone logs in the app, they are using forms. So it's actually what you use the most to interact with
It
others,
is.
right? So, just a question. How is I think this is super helpful for the dev team, for the design team, and as you said, because Cambiatus is open source, also we have also contributors that are not necessarily from the team. Does it help also to do that, to onboard new people to help?
For sure. So for example, this validation chapter here, it's not about components. It's a documentation about how we validate data from forms. So we talk about here what function we can use, what each thing does, and how it does it. So yeah, it's definitely a really nice tool for documenting for new devs to onboard them, or for maybe even designers who need to know what their design system is. So yeah, it's really nice for onboarding.
And we have had already the situation also with people, and this is also important to encourage. I'm happy that we have so many people here from the community today. If there is people in your communities that is interested in playing with code, understanding better how the app works, contributing to Cambiatus, we have a lot of documentation and resources for that too in GitHub. Now with the Elm-book for the front end also will be easier. So that's something that we would love to encourage more in the future, having people from the communities contributing, because we're sure we have a lot of geeky people around in Mura, Angel, Verdes, and Play for Change that could contribute back also to the code. So that's open invite for everyone.
That would be amazing. So please, community members, feel free to broadcast this to your communities. And yeah, as Carlos said, we have some other documentation. We have this wiki right here. And this is the part of the talk where I kind of want to hear from you, from everyone. So for now, we only have forms here, and we have this wiki. So what do you think should be the next steps? What else should we include in Elm-book? What should we keep in the wiki? Should we move it to Elm-book? And for that, there is actually a discussion in place already in GitHub. So we say here some dev stuff we should include in Elm-book, but we have many more components like modals, buttons, and icons, and our design system stuff like colors, typography, font size, and all that. But I'd like to hear from you. What do you think would be interesting to include in Elm-book? Either if you're a designer or a dev, or maybe a community member who wants to see some Cambiatus stuff, what would you like to see?
Or maybe the question will be also, what do you want to understand better? How it works?
Yeah, that's another way to put it.
Mm-hmm. And that also will help us to create another open sessions in the future, right? What are the pieces that you want to understand better about how Cambiatus works? Could be the front end, as Henrique was explaining today, or it could be other parts too.
Okay, I have a question.
Go.
Go ahead.
Henrique, for example, if I'm a part of a community and I would like to test if some layout, for example, I think that there will be another button to a specific task. Is me as a community member, okay? Because I interact with the web app, and then I found some needs. Okay, it would be cool to have something like a new button or a new bar or whatever. But I don't have any skill to develop these things. The Elm-book is specific for people who understand the Elm language. And in my case, as a community member, I cannot interact with it in order to test my idea. How would be the front end with a new button or the things?
So elm-book is actually written in Markdown. Of course, the components are in Elm, but elm-book is written in Markdown, everything there. And to test it, what's already there, you can just go there and interact with it. But if you don't have any dev knowledge, you should probably come talk with us. And if you want to do it, we can help you, or you can just say, hey, I want this. Can you please do it for me? And for that, I don't know, there are community channels, but you can also just create a new issue on our GitHub. After all, we're all open source and anyone can interact with us there.
That will be really cool, Enrique, if you can show quickly how anyone could do that, how to create a new issue on our GitHub for the front end. Like, I would like to ask for this.
Sure. So you come here to GitHub, or so on Cambiatus/frontend GitHub. Let me put the link on the chat if I find the chat. You basically come here, and then this is our basically homepage of GitHub. You can see all of our code here. We're all open source, so you can browse through our code here, and you can see there are some instructions on how to develop locally. But well, you can see up here on my mouse, there's code, issues, pull requests, and all that stuff. So you have two options actually. You can either start a discussion, which is for broader topics and more conversation and talking about how to do things and what to do and all that. But if you just want a feature, you can just come here to issues, create a new issue, and we already have some templates. So if you want to report a bug, or if you want a new feature, or if you want something that already exists, but you want it somehow to be better than it already is, maybe add something to a component, some different state. So you can choose your template here, for example, a bug report, and then you give it a title. So this is a bug report. And then there are some things here telling you what to do. So you can describe the bug, and then you need to tell us how to reproduce it. That way we can actually test it and figure out what's going on, because it's much easier for us to know what's going on than just users. We know the behind the scenes of things. And just to say, this can be started with Markdown. So for example, this is bold. You can see on the preview here. So you basically remove this, fill it out, so and so happens. And then you just go through this, talk about what you do to reproduce, what it should happen, if you have any screenshots. The environment is probably just going to be production for users, and just some data in additional context. And when you're done, you can check out what you wrote on the preview, see if everything looks okay. And when you're done, you click submit new issue. So let's just test it out. And it will take you to this page. So everyone can come here to the issues tab. We will actually get an email, and we'll know someone published a new issue. So you can come here and see, oh, okay, so this is happening. This is how you produce it, and so and so. And we can either ask questions, or you can talk from that. And that's pretty much the process.
That's great. No, it's really helpful.
You need, of course, a GitHub account that you can create one quickly with your email, and you will be able to do that too. And coming from someone that is super lazy with GitHub, which is my case, I always keep adding things on Slack, and then Enrique takes them to GitHub. It's better if you can go directly, and then you are participating and contributing there directly. That's fun. Way better.
Yeah, and everyone is very much welcome to do that. So if you find a bug or if you want something, please do. Luca.
Thanks, Enrique. I just want to comment something out, is that, I mean, the talk is about accessibility, and we talked about how our components may be more, were made to be more accessible to folks with disabled folks with problems from accessing the app or using the computer. We want to make it more accessible. With internet, we want also to make it more accessible with a low internet bandwidth. But I mean, it's also for us here as community members, because even though we from Cambiatus, we do have channels to get in touch with some of you, and we do receive feedback. As we grow, we should be able to not only be open source, but also accessible in a way that we are reachable. You know, that there's channels for every community member, even the ones that are not admins or I mean on leadership positions, to actually reach us and talk about it, because a lot of the stuff that happens on the app, we do have our little bubble of stuff that we work on, that we are aware that we want to work on, but receiving feedbacks from you folks is actually the most enjoyable thing for us. I mean, it's really a pleasure to hear from you folks, to receive feedback, to learn from you what you were actually needing the app to do. And sometimes it's big stuff, but sometimes it's just smaller stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe you have some extension in your browser that you want to be better compatible with our app. Maybe you find some wording, some translation that is not appropriate. You know, I know a lot of us here are polyglots, and we speak a lot of languages, and sometimes we translate stuff that is not in our native languages, and help with those would be appreciated. Like, you know, like all these words is not it's not expressing exactly what I want to, and I mean, accessibility here, it's the broad term. It's about being accessible. It's about being reachable. It's about making this app for us as several communities together, but as a community of communities as well, because that's what drives us in Cambiatus, is to build this open source tool that can be used by many people to learn about a new mindset, a new way of thinking. And we think, as part of this new mindset, that we should be, well, accessible and reachable. And so please, I reinforce the things that Henrique mentioned, that we would love to hear feedbacks from you folks. We would love to hear, to see an open issue. I mean, I worked on other companies and we had issues, and when issues come up, we were like, oh no, I don't want it. But here in Cambiatus, I'm actually super happy when someone opens an issue and I'm like, oh, nice, someone's using it and someone is finding ways to improve it. So it's actually super realizing and happy to see issues there. So please be free to participate. We would love to hear more from you folks. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Luca. I think that was a fantastic closing. I don't know, Henrique, if you want to add something.
No, I think Luca said it all. I always get really, really happy when someone from outside comes to GitHub and creates an issue or comments, or even comments on an issue. I'm always really happy. And I just want to reinforce what Luca said. We live in our bubble. It's very different to use the app as a dev who knows every single part of it and what it does and what it should do, than a member who doesn't know really how it works behind the scenes. So it's really nice to have some feedback every once in a while.
Thank you, Henrique, and thank you, everyone. We have 10 minutes left, and I would love to have a checkout round. So a quick, how you feel at the end of this session. Maybe if you learned something that you found interesting. And I would love to have one volunteer to start, and we will do the same. Share how you feel at the end and nominate someone to go out after you. Who wants to start?
Well, Carla, can you repeat, please, your last phrase?
Yeah. Check out. How do you feel at the end of the session? And then nominate someone else. Henrique.
Okay, so I'm feeling very excited, still, and happy. And now I know the channel where we can go, because yeah, we have been using Cambiatus. We have some I can say suggestions or some things that can work for us, and I don't really know, since I don't understand about coding, I don't know the complexity of those kind of changes, and it's good to have now someone or some tools to be able to talk to Cambiatus. I mean, we had before, but now I can see Henrique now. I can talk to him straight, and we can see how can we work together to make Cambiatus even better.
And you nominate.
And I would nominate. Let's see, Luis.
Hello guys, sorry I'm driving, so I'll keep the camera closed. Yeah, very good to see our collaboration going deeper into the code. It's, you know, congratulations Henrique and Luca. That's totally our mindset. You know, Cambiatus is for us, you know, and we're building it together, even from suggestions like Muda had one day, like, you know, instead of being a shop, it was being offers. So, you know, with those little details about the language and sort of customizing how we feel about it, this brings and builds a broader sense of ownership. And I think that's for what we're looking for. I haven't been that active on GitHub. I'm a bit like Carla. I usually send things on Slack, but I promise that I'll try to be a little bit more active. And yeah, and I hope, you know, on Play for Change, we're having a lot of people willing to learn how to code and, you know, how they can collaborate. I think now we have a good testing field, you know, which is, you know, telling everyone that is learning to program, you know, to go on the Cambiatus GitHub, to make suggestions, and, you know, at least have a look at how a project is made on an open source way. So yeah, congrats guys. I pass it to Luca.
Thank you, Luis. Well, I'm super glad actually. I love this community gatherings that we do. Even though I mean, depending on the context of the talk and what we're talking about, some people participate more, some people less. Since this is a technical talk, I mean, the type of engagement is different from other types of ideas. But I do love this us getting in touch with each other. It creates for me at least this sense of well, community. I mean, we all need all the parts to come together, and I feel like those moments that we have together is like really special for our growth as a community. So thank you everyone to participate. I'm super glad, and well, that's it. I'll pass to Christian.
Hey, so I feel awesome. I feel like I know something now because I don't understand a thing about development. So it is good to understand like the behind the scenes about all this process and the magic about this, right? Yeah, so I feel good. I pass it on to Karim.
One of the things that I really appreciate about Cambiatus, and today was an example of that, is nothing is a black box. You can look under the hood of every part of Cambiatus, and you can get involved and engage at every level depending on your interests and your needs. And I really appreciate that, because these talks kind of lift the lid on each of those different aspects, and I feel like I can engage if that's what I need to or if I want to, and I really appreciate that. And I am passing over to Janelle.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, you know, this all seems above my pay grade. So when I start to hear about these things, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what they're talking about. But what I did get, and what is really important, is that but I can ask. And when people ask me, is there something that we can do because it's not working, I now know, yes, we could ask. We have these options, we have these resources, and things can change and things can improve. And that's the most important thing for me, is to know that people are open and willing and ready to make the changes that we see that we need. And so I have to be open and willing and able to try to learn as much as I can about these things. So I appreciate the opportunities to do so. So thank you. And I pass to Jeff.
Thank Jen. I'm really glad, guys. It's amazing. Like Henrique said, we work in Play for Change. We every time we find out new things and we have some questions. So now we could see the clear way to talk to you guys and about this exactly point about the system and the program. So, and also like Luis said, we have our players that are learning to code and to see that we have no black blocks in the process is amazing, and just thank you. And I pass to Caribe, Vitor.
Thanks, Jeff. No, I appreciate this session. I'd love to have more even of these. I think that's very helpful for us, and also to meet some of the other communities, because I know we should be collaborating more and more. And not only, it's great to see this channel through GitHub to be able to improve the code together, but also as the team mentioned, we want to also be able to contribute to the code whenever we can, because I'm sure some features that we realize that we need are going to benefit every other community. So that's the best part of it. It's not something that you can implement for yourself, but you're also going to be able to fix bugs as well as like make improvements to the overall code. And I think that's how we add value to everyone else. So the more we understand each other's needs, maybe you solve a problem for someone else, and sometimes not only to your own community. So that can be even better when we get to that point of understanding of even trying all of the communities that are part of Cambiatus. So I'm really excited and happy to be part of this. We're just in the beginnings, but we already feel the importance and the value that is adding to our community within Play for Change. And we're releasing slowly so we can also understand it well and try to make these improvements. So now I appreciate the time and the knowledge and the information that you're passing to us. I'll pass now to Anufo.
Pura vida. Yeah, glad to hear all these magical things about the Elm and elm-book, and congratulations. It's a nice thing. I love it. And yeah, I expect the people from the community to interact more, and I'm also glad to hear that some of the members of the community are learning to code. I hope we're learning functional language. That's cool. Okay, and yeah, let's move on. I pass to Thomas.
Thanks. This has been very interesting. One of the things of participating in Cambiatus was really making us, I worked for an NGO in the UK called Tier Fund, and it really made us think about co-creation. So there's something quite extraordinary in people co-creating their own digital currency. And for women, mainly who are in our savings groups, to feel that they are co-creating an app. They might have never used a smartphone before. And not only are they using a smartphone, but they're actually changing something in an app on the smartphone that they are using when they put in their objectives for their community, for their currency, whose name they have chosen, whose symbol they have chosen. And I think what this shows me today is that there's another journey, that there are people who are interested in coding in Ethiopia, in Adam, in other places, and that those people themselves can see that they could participate through GitHub and so on in making suggestions and so on. It's part of the same co-creation process you want to do in Play for Change. The other thing that really resonated with me today was the effort to make it too accessible for blind people. We're on a journey in my organization and we're by no means there, but we have a blind member of staff who talked to us about just what it was like for him to be a member of staff in our organization and not be able to participate fully and not be able to access information fully. So exactly what you're struggling with, Henrique, on making the pages readable, so you can the text can be read so that people can hear. It's just so important for inclusion of people who are otherwise really excluded. And when you add those exclusion to being poor women in poor countries of the world, the emotional impact of the work you're doing for them should not be lost sight of. It's something really powerful that something that was closed becomes open. So thank you for all that work. I know it's not complete, and just be encouraged that it's not complete for us in a much bigger organization, development organization. We're still on that journey too, with lots to do, but great that Cambiatus is on that road also.
Thank you, Thomas.
I pass to, let's see, Matthias.
I would like to thank you, everybody. It was great to have, to meet you guys here. For me, the main point is for the possibility to customize and fit our community needs, and also have direct access to you guys is really good. And I think it makes it easier to improve our process and to improve our community as well. So thank you so much. I think we have.
Maybe you, I think you is missing, right?
Yes, I don't think. Yep. Juliana, did you say?
Thank you. I am glad to. Henrique, thank you so much for show us this content. Your work is amazing. I am your fan and fan of the Luca too. Ours magic. And thank you for bringing this content and make it accessible to community members. It's very important. I think this elm-book, I see this, how our history of our work. So this elm-book is beautiful. Thanks so much for your job.
I think you was the last one, right? No one missing?
Yes, I think.
Thank you.
I haven't talked yet.
Oh, Enrique, please go.
So thank you for listening. I'm not the best at speaking, so thanks for bearing with me. And I really like that we got to the point where you know now how to contribute, because Cambiatus is a collaborative business after all. So we're building the app for ourselves. It's not for someone we don't know. It's for ourselves. So it's important that you all know how to give us feedback. And if you want to help, you can. And I think I can speak for Luke as well. You don't really need to know much about code. We can walk you through and help you all the way through the process. Just ping us and talk with us, and we'll be very, very happy to help you. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for everything. Carla?
Thank you, Enrique. Yes, and for me, I will say that you were fantastic, Enrique. I think that was a fantastic way to put really technical info in a way that we could understand and take something positive out of it. So thank you. It was fantastic. You will be doing this again in the future. Thank you all. And thank you for being here. See you next time. And remember,
yeah, CMB-GO.
CMB-GO. If you already have a CMB-GO account, you can claim your CMB-GOs for participating in this event. And if you don't have an account, ask me or Luis or someone here, and we will help you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye,
guys.